Well, Jamie Raskins and the rest of the Democrat Party are having an absolute another meltdown, all because Donald Trump is winning, meaning you, the United States people, and the Democrats are losing power again. And his meltdown is incredibly hilarious and just as pathetic as the rest of the Democrat Party is. They're so used to always winning, as expanding leftism like a virus. The one thing that they always want to do from start to finish is to understand that the Democrats, the only thing they only ever care about is power. And they will do anything, they will say anything, they will lie about anything to expand liberalism. However, they want to do that liberalism, whether it be liberalism or socialism or progressivism, all these different isms, which are Marxism leading to communism. And they have been growing like a virus for so many decades that they're not used to anyone standing up to them. What they're used to is just tell somebody to just shut up and shutting them up, usually by calling them some kind of slanderous name, right? Calling you a racist or a bigot or a homophobe, transphobe, or white nationalist or extreme MAGA Republican. But even none of that is working anymore, as they've done it so many times that people are now just ignoring them. And then an addition on top of that is people are finally realizing that they are lying to them endlessly. See, I call this machine the Democrats use, I call it the three-headed beast from the DC abyss. You have the one head is the Democrats who just want to press leftism all the time, and they will lie and do anything to achieve those goals. But they don't really want to run the government. And then you have the second head, which is the deep state. And these are the unelected bureaucrats that actually run Washington, D.C. You don't know who their names are. You don't know what they look like. Yet they are the ones who actually have the power. And your elected representatives have given them that power so that they don't have to take risk. Because at the end of the day, the Democrats and their friends in the Rhino Party, but politicians in general, are cowards. They don't want people like a Donald Trump coming along and just messing things up for them. They want to just sit back in Washington, D.C. and shake hands with the movers and the shakers and not suffer any consequences for their actions. And so the deep state writes all the bills for them. And then most of these congressmen never read them, don't know anything about them. They just sign when they're told to sign, and then it moves down the line. And if there's ever any pushback to them, they say, whoa, don't talk to me. You'll go talk to OSHA or go talk to LNI, right? Go talk to the IRS, any other three-letter alphabet soup agencies, so that they don't have to take responsibility for their actions. But that's not the way that our constitutional republic is supposed to work. So you are the American voters, and you're supposed to vote for your elected officials, and then they carry out your will in Congress. And that is exactly what happened with Donald Trump. He was never supposed to come back. The deep state was supposed to take him out. And they tried not just bullets going by his head, but they also tried to label him, all the other things they try to label people. And then they went with all their hoaxes, Russia, 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 or the impeachment hoaxes, or the suckers and losers, or with Gene Carroll, or with the felonies, hoax after hoax after hoax. But in the end, it all failed because people realized that they were lying to them again. Now, Donald Trump is actually doing the one thing that deep state never thought could ever happen, that your will would actually be carried out in Congress. See, this is, to them, it's almost blasphemy because they are smarter than you, right? They have Ivy League degrees, right? They are deeply entrenched in the government. They know all the movers, they know all the shakers, they're invited to all the private parties, right? You are just supposed to shut up, pay your taxes, and let them do their job. Let them rule over you. You're not supposed to have a president actually going in there and being president, no more than you're supposed to have a senator or a House member actually creating laws and doing the will of the American people. See, that's against the beast from the DC abyss. The last head was the fake news networks. And that fake news networks, they were so used to lying for the Democrats. And we have some great video to play later to really expose just how insane these leftist liberals are. Because the mainstream media, they are not for the American people. As much as they try to pretend, that we're independent journalists, it's almost impossible to say without laughing because it's so deeply absurd. And you have realized it, have you not? And that's why the mainstream media is collapsing. Whereas independent creators like here on the CASHLOREN show, are exploding in popularity. And it's great to be back with you folks. I hope you had a great weekend as we're now on Wednesday. And if you're enjoying this moment, take a moment, hit the repost, and help us shed an American First message with your audience so we can continue to defeat the deep state and the fake news networks with using truth and facts every single day. Now, these Democrats, when they don't get what they want, they start rasping, screaming, and crying. And this is all going over Trump's big, beautiful bill. And it's certainly not a perfect bill, but we can't get everything we want. And we talked about this earlier in the week with like Elon Musk and his feud with Donald Trump. And part of what Elon Musk says, is real briefly, is that I do agree with. Right? We can't keep taking in $5 trillion, spending $7 trillion. I mean, the charts are very obvious. They spend, they spend, they spend, they spend. And as they spend, there's more and more debt underneath. Okay, this is not sustainable. At some point, there's going to be hyperinflation and the United States will collapse. So on that point, I agree with Elon Musk. But the direction that he's going in is the wrong way. As what he's pushing for through this third party, if you look at anywhere that third parties have been tried, what always happens is actually the Democrats, the left side, gain more power, not less, because the right side divides, and then the middle, the washy ones, the slash Democrats slash Republicans, they tend to lean left. So it actually will harm Elon Musk's desire, not make it better. And I also think, he's dealing with the CBO and the rest, like the Rand Pauls and the Macy's of the world, who's not realizing that these are actually blatantly lying to you, the American people, and to him, Elon Musk. When they post, like they want to pretend that they're conservative, or that they want to stop spending, or all the other normal talking points they run, but they actually never do anything. It's all just stage. It's all political theater. And I hope more and more people are continuing to realize this as we continue to expose them. And now we have Raskin losing his mind because the Democrats are starting to lose. The deep state's starting to lose. The uniparty's starting to lose, all because you didn't do what they wanted you to do and you voted for Donald Trump. How dare you? How dare you vote for your own best interests? Right? How dare you not vote the way that they told you to vote? I mean, they told you that he was sexually assault, and they told you that he was a felon, and they told you that he had boxes of classified documents in his house. They told you that Russia, and all the other lies that they told you that you were just supposed to believe. But they are the boys that cried wolf. You voted back, and the one thing they thought could never happen was now there is a president in the White House who is not saying what you're supposed to say in front of a camera, like the Macy's and like the Rand Pauls, and then doing something completely different. He's actually campaigning on his campaign promises, one, going in the White House, and now implementing all of them. And as flawed as a big, beautiful bill is, and it is flawed because we do have a two-party system and a lot of rhinos, we're not going to get everything we want. But it's the best first step we've had to taking our country back, maybe in my lifetime. And the Democrats, they don't want any of this because as they see that you have $5 trillion coming in, $7 trillion coming out, no one's allowed to know where this money goes. And you start to dig into the USAID and all these NGOs, and now how they're using your tax dollars to pay for the illegal invasion of our country, and then to pay for these illegal immigrants to be here through Social Security, through Medicaid, and through all these other programs. See, this is what the Democrats are really upset about. But of course, they can't say that to you, because if they say that to you, then all of you would immediately say, we're not good with this. So they know that, so they have to lie. And as it's not working, as a beautiful bill at some point is going to pass. On July 4th, I don't know if Donald Trump's going to be able to sign it, because you have more issues going on in the House. But it will happen. And we are going to be cutting illegal immigrants off the Medicaid and other social programs. We now have Alligator Alcatraz and much more, hopefully, being built all throughout the country, and then so we can deport these illegal aliens as quickly as possible. But this is Jamie Raskin absolutely losing his mind and all the usual Democrat hoaxes and slanders because they are not getting their way.
Preamble to this big ugly bill. We, the billionaires, and our king, in order to deform and sicken our union, establish injustice, ensure domestic servility, weaken our people's defenses, undermine the general welfare, and reserve to ourselves and our posterity staggering debt servitude for eternity, do hereby instruct the Republicans in Congress to strip 17 million people of their health care.
That's one of the best meltdowns I think I've ever seen. Raskin has always been one of those just over the top, ridiculous radicals. But that actually meltdown now, where he's now trying to change our words for our country and do what the Democrats always do and try to subvert them to their own causes. And all the lies that he goes through all in the same time, because the Democrats can't tell you who they really are. So they have to lie about like all these millions of Americans are going to be kicked off Medicaid. But isn't that exactly what you voted for? Because these aren't Americans. See, that's where they are lying. These are either illegal aliens that shouldn't be on there in the first place, your tax dollars, or these are people who can work, who choose not to, who are stuck in this government poverty trap. So they can't tell you that. And so then, of course, then they lie. And they lie all about the other things. It's like Donald Trump still trying to do with their hoax about the king. I'm surprised he didn't bring up Taco. I guess that one flopped like the rest of them. The Democrats, they can't meme. They can't come up with these slogans anymore. It's something that they used to be very good at. Whether you believe them or you don't, they would all be able to at least get on the same page and talk all the same talking points. But one of the brilliant things that Donald Trump is doing now is he's moving so fast and so quick that they can't keep up. And so they just go from one hoax to the next hoax to the next hoax, losing after losing after losing, and they can't get their messaging straight. I mean, that's one of the best. Every time I see that, it just brings me joy. I mean, doesn't that make you smile, seeing the Democrats taking their loss just like you voted for? I mean, be honest now. Are you regretting your vote for Donald Trump? Or are you proud now that he is doing everything that you voted for? The experts for the fake news, for the deep state, they have been wrong over and over and over again. Just like the CBO has been wrong every single time. But now they're trying to lie and say that Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill is going to add trillions of dollars to the debt. But they leave out lots of facts that if you knew, you would never come to a conclusion, because that's the best way that they lie. Is they'll tell you the parts they want you to know, like Raskin's did, telling about how all these millions of people are going to be kicked off Medicaid and social programs. But they never tell you the details, because if you knew the details, you would never go along with their lie. So now, as they're stuck all the way back in the corner, and as they have no more where to go, I mean, the judges have lost. And we're going to cover those later too, is they're still trying to write these nationwide junctions, even after SCOTUS said they're not allowed to. The meltdown is as beautiful as I hoped it would be. And then we have Burchett. He embarrasses Kaylin Acosta Collins. It's talking about all the same Medicare stuff. He's going to go through, he's going to clearly identify all these lies like Raskins is trying to talk about, or AOC is trying to talk about. And instead, he's going to explain it all and talk about how flawed these systems are. And I couldn't even say it better myself. So here he is on Fake News CNN.
People in Tennessee get Medicaid and SNAP benefits as well. Are you worried about
no,
those
I'm
cuts?
not, because
that's how they. Sorry, see, Kaylin Collins, part of the liberal elite, the Democrat propagandists who are pretending to be neutral journalists. There's nothing neutral about these people. They are all in the bag for the Democrats. They are all party DNC. She knows she's lying. And not so much by the direct lie, but the main way they lie is they leave out very many facts. And they try to word these questions in a way that make you look bad. Right? Aren't you worried about all these people that are going to lose their benefits? I mean, think about all the pain and all the suffering and all the harm that's going to be done. And of course, so their solution is, well, then you do nothing. They keep expanding the government. They keep wasting your money. But he stands right up to her with facts.
Unless they're doing it illegally, and waste, abuse, and fraud. That's all their cuts are. That's a misnomer. That's what the left is putting out to scare people. And unfortunately, that's what we do in politics. And I
cannot tell you just how right he is there. That is exactly what they do over and over and over again. See, they have to get you scared, and they have to get you mad. Because if you're scared and you're mad, then you never ever think anything beyond your nose. They just tell you, oh, all these people are going to lose their benefits. I'm so mad, everybody's going to lose all their benefits. Those evil, bad Republicans. And then you just go out in the streets and let's march and let's protest and really use activism to progress liberalism. But if you stop and think for just 2 seconds, you see how phony and how hoax they are, which is why the mainstream media has lost all their influence for simply like this, because they're not cutting people off who deserve it. In fact, they're actually going to help them. As they get rid of the fraud, waste, and abuse and corruption, what does that do? That leaves more money for the people who actually need it.
It's wrong.
What do you're saying only people who get Medicaid illegally are going to be affected by these cuts? I don't think.
She's acting so shocked. Are you trying to speak facts? But that doesn't really fit our narrative. And so now she's trying to go backwards and again lie about their fake experts coming to the conclusion they want you to come to.
That's all right. I mean,
I do.
The projection is it's 12 million people. Are you saying 12 million people are getting Medicaid illegally?
I've delved into those notes, and most of them are unsubstantiated. That's, they will not address the fact that illegals are on it. They will not address the fact that there's a work requirement, which I think every American, if they're capable of working, they should probably not be on Medicaid. And so, we've got single moms, 2 kids or something like that. No, they should qualify for the programs. But if we're not careful, we will destroy the program and it will not take.
He is right. That money is supposed to go to the people who need it, not to illegal immigrants and not to people who can work and produce a society. But those are facts that get in the way of the Democrats' narrative as they try to play 2 sides of the same coin and then somehow turn it into some kind of magic trick where they say on one hand, the government's going to solve all the problems, so just give us your money and we will take care of those in need. Sounds good on the surface, but it never works. Why? Because of all the fraud and waste and corruption that always happens. If you have guaranteed money that comes in and no accountability, do you think people are going to be more responsible for that money? Or do you think people are going to be more corrupt? And the obvious answer, of course, is that they're going to waste that money endlessly and they're going to use it for ways that shouldn't be used and use it for political advantages that shouldn't be used, such as facilitating the illegal invasion of our country and then putting them up on hotels and giving them food endlessly. But on the flip side of that, the other side of that same coin is that if you find out, they realize that the gig is up. So on the other side of that is you're not allowed to ever know where that money's supposed to be going. You're just supposed to pay your taxes and then trust me, bro, these are the experts. These are the 3-letter alphabet soup agencies. And so, they will do it right because they're smarter and better and wiser. The whole shebang, but that's the way they look at it. You're dumb, they're smart. But the exact opposite's true. And now we're continuing to expose them. Just like AOC, and we talked about Raskins earlier, AOC is having another meltdown because facts are getting away of the Democrats' narrative. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more right after this greedy profit break. This is the CASHLOREN Show. Well, there's so much happening all at once for the Democrats and their Unirhino party. It's a lot of fun to watch them all melt down all at the same time, all because you did the one thing that you didn't supposed to ever do. You voted in your own best interest instead of listening to them lie to you over and over and over again and just believing it. As things are very different now than they've been in decades past, where it was just even a few years ago where the only real main way to get information out was the mainstream media. Whether it be MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, or New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, any of the others that were all Team Democrat, though they pretended to be independent journalism, what they really did is just repeated DC talking points. But they had a monopoly on major information. When an entire generation grew up going home from work and then turning on the lightning news or buying a newspaper and thinking that they were being informed. And now the next generation, the younger generations, are starting to realize how badly they were lying. Because it wasn't just that they were lying to you. is that they were withholding information, even in the same story that they were talking about, giving you the bits and pieces that they wanted you to know, but they leave out the facts they didn't want you to know, because if you knew the whole truth, you would never come to the conclusion that they wanted you to. And now they are the boys that cried wolf. Whether it be the Democrats or the fake news networks, they just can't influence people the way they used to do. John Maxwell, he talks about this in Leadership, but it's the same thing. He talks about it's change in your pocket. Okay, everybody has so much change in their pocket. And this change isn't literal change, but it's your influence over other people. Some people are more they're good with people, right? They're social, they have really good communication skills, whatever the case may be, so they have more change in their pocket they start with. Others, not so much. They have to work very, very hard, either practicing in front of a mirror or doing voice coaching or anything else they need to do to build up their skills. And every time they do that, they add change to their jar. And then as you go and you communicate with people, you also continue to add change to your pocket as you continue to build trust and influence with those people. But the other side of it is when you lie to them, you lose that change from your pocket. And everybody makes mistakes. But that is a big difference from blatantly lying. But when you make a mistake, you're going to lose some change. But most of the time, unless you're almost out of the change in your pocket, you will just recover. But blatantly lying costs you even more. And if you do it enough times, if your pocket empties, then you have no influence left. See, that's what's happened to the mainstream media, and that's what's happened to people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as they have lied and raged so much that people just don't believe them anymore. And here she goes again, posting online with the normal Democrat rhetoric, going, over 1 million New Yorkers are going to lose their health care because of this bill, talking about Trump's big, beautiful bill. And now that's supposed to make you mad, and that's supposed to enrage you. That should send you out into the streets, right? Putting up signs and singing and dancing and screaming and marching up and down New York or California, wherever the case may go. But it's not happening. And certainly not to the levels that they want it to. So why? But the truth is, it's because they've lied so many times that people just don't believe them anymore. So when she runs all this lies that she did right there, what does she, of course, leave out? All the illegal immigrants that are here in this country illegally, that are getting deported, that they were using your tax dollars to pay for. You remember when the Democrats were lying about that too? Like they were lying about FEMA not using your tax dollars to put illegal immigrants into hotels, and then they got busted. And what's really, truly almost so unbelievable about it is when they were lying about it, it wasn't even that hard to find, because they were openly on C-SPAN with Mayorkas and other senators and other House members asking to be appropriated tax dollars to feed and house illegal aliens on C-SPAN. And these weren't even closed door meetings. And they tried to lie, especially when they got busted with the North Carolina hurricane. And then they said, we don't have any money. We need more money from Congress. This is always how this government works, right? Because they wasted on other projects. They didn't have money left. And now no one pays the price for it. Instead, they just expect you to give them more tax dollars. The same thing happens in California and throughout the rest of the world. That's the way the government has worked for far too long. But now Trump is fighting back. And Trump is refusing to play the game. He is actually doing the one thing that politicians never do. He's not only campaigning on what he says he's going to do, but he is actually doing it. I know that's shocking. It's almost unbelievable, but the politicians, they don't have that fight in them. This is why you almost need like that billionaire populace that comes along, and why they work so hard to try to stop from getting in power, either in here or New York, or over in or across the seas, like in Europe or anywhere else in the world. If they're scared of nothing else more than anybody, is these billionaire populists who actually do what Donald Trump has done. And that's why they've tried to destroy him and others. And it really isn't even about Donald Trump so much. It's about their power to rule over you. Is they have to set the standard that don't you dare try to go up against them. Don't you dare try to fight back. Don't you ever even think about standing up to us. As Chuck Schumer says, the intelligence agencies, right, they have 6 ways from Sunday to get back at you. So as a smart businessman, him, me, and Donald Trump is being very, very dumb. That's the threat. But Trump did fight back. He fought the law and he won, which the law in this case was actually being illegal. It was the government gangsters. Now they've been exposed. And now the mainstream media has also been exposed. And they're losing all their power faster than they could ever think possible. And they don't really know how to react to any of it other than double down on all the things that are causing the drop. I think the Democrats last I saw was at 17%. And it should be much, much lower than that. Even when they have a built-in 30+% right into there, there's still even half of that. Where their own fake news polls. I mean, still learn nothing because they're continuing to double down on putting America last in fighting for illegal immigrants, just like here in the New York Times, right? The respected journalists. So they love to tell you, but look how they write this headline here. Just in case you don't hate these people enough. As the New York Times, quoting from LA, goes, LA legal group sues to stop unconstitutional immigration actions. What unconstitutional immigration actions? You mean the ones where Biden and Kamala opened up our border and allowed tens of millions of people into our country with no due process, with no vetting? Just say your asylum and boom, you're in the door. Is that what they're talking about? Is that unconstitutional? No. See, that doesn't fit the woke mind virus. That doesn't fit their narrative. So of course they lie. What Trump and his immigration policies are not doing, just like the SCOTUS is just ruled, and just like we all know in the Constitution, he is the chief officer of the federal government. And he has exclusive Article 2 authority in the Constitution of the United States to run our federal government. You know, Donald Trump is the only person, being now the current president, that the entire country votes on. And because the entire country votes on him, he has exclusive authority in that branch of government. Just like Congress has exclusive authority in their branch of government, and the judicial has exclusive authority in their branch of judgment. But if you listen to the Democrats, they think that the judges rule over everybody because the judges are making rules that they want. So the Democrats have their way. The judges are way up here, and then Trump is down here, and then the Congress is over here. And then they can try doing anything they want, but it has to get past the yes or no's, mother may I's of the judicial branch. That's not 3 co-equal branches of government. The fake news, LA, they know it, but they think they can lie to you and get you so mad and so enraged that you don't even think about this for a second. So then the article goes on. A suit filed in Los Angeles highlights Trump's administration's enforcement tactics and accuses officers of racial profiling. And they're not. Now, if you're here illegally, you get deported. Now, most of the people that the Biden administration happen to let in are from South America or Africa. That's not racial profiling. You know what's racial profiling is the Democrats saying that they should take resources from white people because they're white and giving them to people of color because they're not white. Okay, that is the Democrats' racial exploitation and racial profiling. This is just black and white. If you're here illegally, you get deported. It's really not complicated at all. But they have to continue to lie, so they go with racial profile. Brutally and holding detainees in dungeon-like facilities. All right, here we go again with the kids in cages. And personally, I don't know about you, but I don't care. Okay, if you commit a crime in this country and you're sentenced to prison, I don't care how small the cage is. I really don't. That's the very definition of prison. You know, if you don't want to be in these little small prisons, then don't break the laws. You know, don't come into our country illegally. Don't commit felonies. But on the left side, on the Democrat side, it's always the opposite of that. It's always that they get to decide morality because they go from the end because of Marxism and their equity, which is a very bad mirage for equality. And then they get to decide, well, this crime is okay, but this crime isn't. Oh, we've decided as the Democrats that it's okay to come to this country illegally. So we open the doors and we open the floodgates. No due process, no vetting, no following the law. But now on the other side of that, they're trying to argue, well, no, you have to have a case for every single illegal immigrant. And then, they have to go through the whole judicial process. But they really know what they're doing is they're trying to bog Trump's administrations down to the point to where his administration runs out of time. So they're going to try to lie to you, the American public, and call us brutal holding detainees. Of course, there's no fake liberal tears for all the Americans who have suffered from the illegal invasion. I don't remember New York Times. I don't remember LA Times. I don't remember Washington Post, CNN, or ABC. I don't remember them running hit pieces for all the Americans who have suffered, for all the Americans who have lost their lives, for all the Americans who have lost their homes, who have lost their ability to earn wages, for all these illegal immigrants who've taken over apartment complexes, right? Where are all the mainstream media hit pieces for that? Where are all the mainstream media talking about how much your tax dollars that you spent into the federal government being used to facilitate the illegal invasion of our country? Where is all their fake liberal tears for you, the American voters? I mean, you're the citizens of this country. You're the ones who pay taxes. Shouldn't they be caring about you and your rights? What about your constitutional rights? What about the laws that are supposed to protect you from the illegal invasion of our country? See, when I say that you'll never hate these fake news networks enough, I really do mean you'll never hate these fake news networks enough. Come on. Okay, and then unusual. So here, this is Shadow. And she's actually our garage sale dog. Normally she's with my wife, and but she is really annoying me because she's not used to being locked in here with me. And if you keep her scratching at the door, I don't know if you can hear that on the mic, and then coming back over to me to bother me because she wants out because she thinks she's supposed to be a mom right now and not locked in here listening to politics. And so she was actually our garage sale dog. Believe it or not, we're going garage sales. Grandmother passed away, and sister inherited her. And then sister decided she didn't want a dog. It wasn't fitting in with what they had going in their home. So my wife and I, we love to go to garage sales. We go in, they had a sign there, free dog. And so she's been with us for several years now. And I guess she's done saying hi to you. So that's one of our dogs, Shadow. I hope she's not being too annoying from the show because it's really annoying that she keeps scratching me on my leg. And I hope I'm hiding it pretty well. But at that point, I couldn't do it anymore. So I was, after all that, kind of got lost where I was. We're on the LA illegal or the brutality dungeon like facilities. You'll never hate them enough. I don't care. They're illegal. Lock them up and deport them. That is the due process. And with that, we're way over on another break. When we come back, we have a lot more, including Zoran, as he's continuing to tell you when he lies about being a socialist that he's actually a communist. And his newest video, if you haven't been convinced yet, will absolutely blow you away. We'll play that and we'll talk about it after this greedy profit break. This is the Cash Loren Show. Folks, you do not want to doubt me for a second when I say that the potential New York mayor, Zoran Mamdani, is a communist. He is 100% a communist. And they try to use all their woke little language with all this stuff here. But like you, the independent thinkers, you can see through this as we go through and we educate on what communism actually is. Here on the Cash Loren Show. Whether they call it liberalism or they call it progressivism or they call it socialism or any of the other isms that the left love to use, it's always based in Marxist ideology, and Marxism always is communism. Socialism is always leads to communism. Progressivism is always towards communism. This is essentially communism light. Do not ever doubt me for a single second on this. All these different isms that when they try to lie to give you free stuff, the price of that free stuff is always poverty, slavery, and death. It is never, ever free because somebody has to pay the price. And the price is always losing your rights and paid in blood. But listen how he tries to make this poison fruit sound so good to you, right? Just they make it sound the communist utopia as this great and wonderful thing, but it is none of that. And so here is his clip is he tries to sell communism to you, the American people.
Further, toward the Vienna model, we'll have to go beyond the market. We can establish community land trusts to gradually buy up housing on the private market and convert it to community ownership.
When he means community ownership, what he means is that they, the government, meaning you, right, the people, the workers, that's how the communists always twist all this stuff. So the government buys up and owns all the land. I wonder how our founders would feel about that. I'm pretty sure they had a revolution over something very similar.
We can give tenants a right of first refusal to buy out their landlords when buildings go up for sale. And we can fully commit to a new era of social housing.
There it is. There's the social fruit, right? Commit to a new era of social housing, meaning government ran hellholes. Can you name one thing that the government has done well? And when the government gains more power, what happens? Is it ever in your best interest? Of course it never is. Why do you think like Cuba, Venezuela, and every other third world hellhole never rises up above poverty? But their masters, right, the people on top of the communists, they always live off the fat, right? They always live in the mansions. They always have all the very nice stuff, and they're always wealthy and rich, and the people that are on their side. But nobody else can escape the communist hellhole. That's why all these communists, I was so close to swearing there. All these communists, why they come to here to our country and they try to take away your rights to institute communism. You notice how none of these communists, they never go to these communist countries that are already communist and lose all their rights. I wonder why that is. Why are they trying to sell you the frozen fruit, or the poison fruit, so they can have more power?
Ending subsidies for luxury housing development and using our wealth to build beautiful, high-quality social housing projects that offer good homes and strong communities to everyone. We won't decommodify housing overnight, but we know what we have to do, and we have history to guide us.
Yes, we do know what we have to do. We have to keep that communist out of New York, and any communist out of any federal government. It should be that no one that isn't born in this country should ever be allowed to be in public office at any level, from Congress all the way down to a dog walker. This has been a huge mistake, and we've seen it happen over and over and over again through people like Zoran, but also through like Ilhan Omar and any of the others that we call like the squad. While yes, AOC is from here and born here, she certainly doesn't talk like an American, but that would be significantly less than all the others who were never here and then came later, now somehow getting into these federal jobs, and then they always want to take away your rights and take away your freedoms so they can have more power. If communism worked, or the socialist utopia worked, then they wouldn't be leaving their countries and coming here. Ilhan Omar would be in Somalia right now. She would not be in the United States trying to subvert your freedoms. Zoran would be in Uganda, wherever the hell he's from, not here. But that is the poison fruit. They make it sound just so sweet, don't they? I mean, just let the government buy up all the land for free from the evil, billionaires. Right? Let the government, they buy up all the land, and then the government will own the land. I mean, we're going to call it the workers' land, right? We're going to call it the people's land, but you all know what it really is. It's really the government's land. And then what will they do? What the government always do, they will ruin it. They will mismanage it. They will abuse the money. They'll take it for themselves. And then they'll make decisions based off political, not off your own best interests. So they'll just decide, you know what, well, you're white, and so you don't get to live in this house. But this person, they're a person of color, and so they choose now to live in this socialist house. They're already openly talking about it. And he can call himself a democratic socialist, but that's just another word for Marxist communist. And to do that, to bring it into that thing, to get someone like this Muslim who hates America elected, is they've imported the third world into our country. And now they're fighting like hell, not for you, the American people, but they're fighting now for all these illegal aliens to stay in our country. And you're going to have here now this fake news reporter who is nothing more than a Democrat activist. Listen how he tries to word this question to Tom Judge Dredd Homan, our borders are. And Tom just tears him apart.
By widespread fear among.
If you're in the country illegally.
Yeah, why are you spreading white fear to all these people who came to our country illegally? You'll never hate these people enough.
You should be concerned. It's not okay to be in the country illegally. If you're a national security threat, you should be working. We're looking for you.
100%. If you're here in this country, we're going to arrest you and we're going to deport you. See, that is the due process for entering in our country illegally. This is exactly what we voted for. And it's funny because it's so popular. But if you only had mainstream media to go to, none of you would know it. You even had CNN, who was forced to do their own poll because they thought that if they just elected, if they do what they always do with their fake polls, and this is why we tell you to take them with a grain of salt. Because what they'll do is they'll ask a very small percentage of people, lose you a couple thousand, and then they very much target people who are very far left or who they think they will be very far left. And if you're a conservative, or if you're even in the middle right, how many of these polls have you been interviewed for? I'm betting all of you are saying zero. There is a very good reason for that. But even in CNN's own fake poll, they were shocked because they thought was a very loaded question. How many of you are for 100% deportation of illegal immigrants? Meaning they hope that people would overwhelmingly say, well, sure, the criminals, but not the people who just want a better way of life. The normal lie, right? I mean, who's going to pick the fruit? Is another one of my favorite hoaxes. Well, I don't know, Democrats. I mean, who's going to pick your cotton? These racist Democrat POSs. Now, their own fake news poll, though, found that 56% were 100% deportation. They said yes to. Every last one. So that's why you can't let CNN or MSNBC or LA Times, New York Post, or any of these other fake news networks lie to you, the American voters. Because when you're thinking that you're against all this illegal invasion of our country, you're not the oddball. In fact, you're the vast majority. Most people think like you do, and that was the mainstream media big hoax that they got away with for decades because they would play it along and they would pretend that they were the ones who were popular. Because they would all talk the exact same talking points, and there was no other way to get the information out to you, the American voters. And so people would turn on the TV or they read the newspaper, and it was all the same talking points, right? Trump is bad. And, these poor immigrant workers, the kids in cages. And you had Rachel Maddow fake crying on TV. And so at that time, many of you probably thought, well, if they're all talking the same, maybe I'm the oddball. But you are not the oddball. You are most of America. And now we have the rise of the independent creators. We can now expose the Democrats in the mainstream media for the liars that they are. Because we are the news now. And you have a desire to know the truth. The Democrats, they did this to themselves. They lied so much that people just got sick of it and turned them off and started looking for another way to get their information from. So, of course, what was the Democrats' answer? It wasn't to start telling the truth. It wasn't going in the middle of the road. No, it was to lie more. And then you had all the mainstream media doing all the same things what they always did, right? Misinformation and disinformation and hate speech. But really what they were trying to do was silence truth that they didn't like. The Marxist communists that they are. Okay? Do not doubt me for a second on this. I'm not over-exaggerating. The Democrats are not just you who think differently. Okay, they are Marxist communists. They are the enemies of the American people. And the right certainly has their problems, and we talk about that, but it's not the same thing. They don't think like you do. They think that they have Ivy League degrees, and because of those Ivy League degrees, they have the right to rule over you. And they think that they have the right to tell you how to think. And that's what's caused so many of the problems that we have now. And now we continue to expose them. And another huge win that we had, I'm going to try to get through this before we run out of time, is that women had a huge win. I don't know if you saw this because it broke late at night, but this is a giant battle that's been being fought for quite a while. As the Democrats, they decided they wanted to reduce women to abortion, to the murder of young, innocent children. Because if you're in the womb at the moment of conception, you are a unique human life. And every one of those lives that they snuff out is a death. That is a unique human being that will never breathe, never experience life, never have children of their own. But the Democrats, they hate women to the point that they are drunk on the blood of the innocent. And they were so drunk on this blood, and they're so drunk on their wokeness, that they were trying to take away all women's rights altogether and allowing these weak, pathetic, beta males who pretended to be women into women's sports and into women's spaces. One of the most famous cases was when Leah Thomas against Riley Gaines. And now we had a huge win because Penn State was forced to apologize for Leah Thomas and women and return all the records back. And this is just the very first step. See, this is what happens when we fight. When we fight, we win. And I just got a couple minutes ago, so I wanted to spend more time on that, but there's one more subject I want to get into here really quick. Let me go through all my notes as I jump past it. Give me just a second. Okay, here we go. We go up to slide number 6. As you bear with me for a second. My mouse got lost. Okay, we have now in New York judge. So we got a couple minutes. Okay, New York judge, District Court Judge Brian McCone has blocked Trump's decision to strip temporary legal status from 500,000 Haitians. Now, I want to be clear about this because SCOTUS just ruled on this. He has no authority to do this whatsoever. They don't have these district judges. They are not president. They don't get to sit from the bench and write law like Congress. But they're still trying to pull this garbage. And we had another one today. This is from Political. Federal judge says President Trump needs to reopen the border for asylum seekers. Okay, think how insane this is. You have now one judge who's going to decide all of the United States foreign policy. And listen how insane his reading of the Constitution is. What he's trying to say is anybody who wants to enter in our country now or forever, anywhere in the world, if they claim asylum, that we have to open their gates for them. You're talking about 8 trillion people he's saying can just walk into our country and there's nothing we can do about it. This one activist judge has decided that he's president, that he's Congress, right? And that he gets to only write law and then enforce law against what you voted for. He's trying to enforce what Biden did, is open up our borders and let all these people in. We saw what happened when 20 million people were in. What happens when they let in 100 million people? Because our elections, even the president, is often decided by like 70,000 votes. And I know on the top line it says millions, but most of those counties are going to go one way or the other anyways. It's literally down to just a few states and a few counties in those states that decide who's going to be president. And often local elections, and even at the federal level, whether it be House or it be Senate, can be decided by hundreds of thousands. So what happens when they let millions and millions of people into this country? This is why it's so important to deport all these people. These judges don't have the authority to do that. SCOTUS has already said, just like we knew from the beginning, they never ever once had that right. Trump rightfully is going to ignore them, and he absolutely should. And I'm starting to wonder now, are we getting to the point that this is obstruction of justice? I hope we go and find out. As Pam Bondi, she posts here, a rogue district judge is already trying to circumvent the Supreme Court's ruling against nationwide injunctions. Facts. And American people see right through this. Facts. Our attorneys will fight this unconstitutional power grab as POTUS continues to secure our border. Meaning that these judges are not going to stop us, as they don't have the authority to do so. They will be held accountable. We've already won, and now the Trump administration, they can just do it because they can say now publicly, we're following the court. SCOTUS has made the decision, and we're following SCOTUS's rules. These low-level judges don't have authority to overrule SCOTUS. And I want to know now, is their attempt to overrule SCOTUS, is that criminal? Can we go beyond removing from the bench and throw these activist judges in jail? Maybe alligator Alcatraz would be great for these commie bastards. And with that, we're out of time. The rest of these stories have to go back in the stack. We'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the Cash Loren. Well, independent thinkers, we have come to the top of another hour. The rest of the stories have to go back in the stack. If you enjoyed this content, take a moment, hit the subscribe, turn on notifications. Most importantly, share a conservative message with your friends and family. We will be back Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on the Cash Loren Show. We will go and we will expose and fight the fake news networks who have been getting away with lying to you for decades. Our content will always be free, but if you'd like to support more, you can do so monetarily over at locals at the Cash Loren Show. And there's great rewards and benefits for doing so. For only about a cup of coffee a month, you will receive exclusive articles and you'll have your name at the end of the video, just like these other fine patriots have. If that sounds interesting to you, go over to locals right now for just a cup of coffee a month and help independent creators stay free, keep the lights on, and continue to expose the fake news networks. We'll see you again on the next episode. This is the Cash Loren Show.